what's the most you've had a client? Not you don't name drop by any means, but like that someone has put into a vehicle.
I've put more into that truck than I paid for that truck.
It's a Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
And we have another fun guest today. We got Dustin McKee. Dustin, how are you?
Not bad. How are you guys?
Good.
Yeah, thank you for coming, man.
Yeah, thanks for jumping on with us. We're going to talk about some automotive, some trucks, souped up, lifted, fast, turbocharged. I don't know. I'm just making up words.
Monster trucks.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, you haven't been wrong on any of that, so.
Good. Well, why don't tell us a little bit about yourself and what you got going on.
So, Dustin McKee, I run and own McKee Automotive. We've been full-time for like 3 years. I used to be a head tech at the GM dealer here in town. I did that for about a decade and decided I wanted to do things kind of on my own terms, a little differently than the dealership life.
Mm-hmm. And then some fun jobs too.
Yep. So that's part of the stuff. Like at the dealer, you had to fix everything the GM way because it was a GM dealer. And I like to fix things better. So sometimes factory parts are the best. Sometimes aftermarket fun stuff is the best. So we do anything from, your oil changes, tire rotations, basic maintenance to diagnostics. We do a lot of heavy electrical diagnostics, that kind of stuff. Full rebuilds, and then custom show stuff. So like lifted trucks, lowered trucks, fast stuff. We've got a 710 horse, I believe, Cadillac CTSV running around that we helped a buddy build. It dynoed, I think, 710 horse and 690 foot-pounds, and it's a mean car.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's fun.
Where's that car?
It's in Galesburg.
Yeah?
Yep. Friend Gage Heron owns it.
Okay.
Hey.
And my truck's actually sitting about the same horsepower-wise and probably double that torque.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a diesel, so it cheats.
I always go to car shows. The Monmouth car show is huge. I worked the Barrett Jackson car auction a couple different years when I lived out in the Phoenix area. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I love to look at them. I don't know anything about them, though. It's like I'm just literally to the extent of like, that's badass.
Yeah.
I love that car. I love that truck. And that's about it. I mean, I can probably figure out if I get close enough if it's a Chevy or a Dodge.
Yeah.
But so I've always had the interest and respect for it. But I mean, I couldn't. You wouldn't want me fixing it or even.
Well, it's
anything.
a double-edged sword on that because, like, I still, thankfully, like, I'm addicted and obsessed with everything automotive. That's why I've gotten pretty good at it. It's just because if I'm not working on it for work, I'm messing with it for fun. But then, like, you see a cool car and then you also see all the problems that that car has, or like a cool truck and you're like, all right, well, I know that half-ton Chevy is going to need a lifter because it's going to eat it. But, I mean, it's still fun.
Mm-hmm. So.
Your truck is huge too, right? Is it 2500?
So it's a 2500 GMC Sierra. It's on 37s. It's not quite huge. We're building, if I get some time, I've been building it for a few years. I started a frame-off restoration on a 05 3/4 ton GM diesel, and it'll be on a 12-inch lift and 42-inch tires, so it'll make that one look small.
Yeah.
But I tore it down to a bare frame, and I'm redoing everything, and then 6 months after I started that project, I went full-time with the company, and so I don't have time. And then now I got 4 kids and 3 dogs and spirals. But
how did everything start? How did you learn how to?
So back in high school, I loved everything. I mean, realistically, it goes back to the age my little kids are now. I mean, as soon as I could play with Matchbox cars, I was painting them or modifying or crashing them or burning them or everything. And then my mom always likes to tell a story of she would buy me remote control cars and I'd take them apart, and most of them got back together, but some of them didn't. And then once I could drive, the only way I could afford to have cool stuff was doing it myself. So I had to learn. My first car was an 85 El Camino SS. We did a lot of stupid things in that. I had a lot of fun. And then it just kind of went from there. I went to college for it, got a degree. So I actually have an associate degree in the applied science of high performance automotive. So I went to build race cars. Hated diesels, ironically. And one of my roommates had a diesel, and it was a Cummins. And one Friday night, we went out and smoked a Corvette. And I was like, wait a minute. How can this big truck smoke a sports car? And then that started the whole addictive and super expensive diesel game for me.
So does diesel diesel trucks are faster than normal gas
Not to
trucks?
start with. They have more torque, which inevitably makes them faster. You got to do work to them, but so like a diesel truck, the older ones you could hop up, like the older Cummins, you could hop them up a lot cheaper because you would just turn some screws and modify some stuff. Now it's all electronic, so it gets exponentially more expensive.
Would you dummy down torque and horsepower for me? Like they're different, right?
So torque is like leverage, and horsepower is actually just a number that comes off of the calculation of torque. So torque is like the force you've got to move. Horsepower is just a number that's calculated based on that and some other stuff. So,
Gotcha. Yeah, I've always heard the word torque. You know, mostly for me is playing like Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
You know, or some of the racing games on the gaming consoles. But other than that, I never really knew what it was, or someone throwing out a term. But
and that's why diesels excel, because like your average diesel truck will have twice the torque of a gas truck. So that's why they're better at towing. That's the low end. Like horsepower, you'll more notice higher end, high speed, high RPM. Torque, especially on a diesel, you get that torque down low in your RPM range. So, like my truck can hang with some cars it shouldn't, especially for as big as it is.
right. And on that's meaning like more on like the 0 to 60 or a time, actually a distance.
0 to the posted speed limit.
Right. There you go. Yeah.
So let's say, okay, I just bought a truck. I did. So I got a Silverado. If I wanted to make it faster, what would be the steps you'd take? What would be the main things you need to change on a truck to make it fast?
So did you say it was a 2020?
Yeah.
Half ton? 3/4 ton?
I think so.
So me too. I don't know.
We just need to figure out.
I didn't
The
ask
main
that.
reason I ask is if it's a gas truck.
Yeah.
So
Turbo. It has, I think it's 2.7 turbo. Does it make sense?
okay, so you got that. We shouldn't have to worry. If it had a V8 in it, we'd have to worry about lifters.
Okay.
All the newer GM architecture, the V8s, when you're driving for better fuel mileage, they'll do a 6-cylinder and 4-cylinder mode, which was a great idea, except for it doesn't work very well. It eats lifters and cams, and we tune them to turn that off, and then you don't have to worry about it.
What's a lifter?
Internal, so you've got a camshaft that pushes lifters, that push valves that open to let air and fuel in.
Okay.
Internal to the engine.
Creating pressure and power.
Yeah, suck, squish, bang, blow.
Basically, yeah.
Except for a diesel, suck, squish, blow, or bang. So like, diesel doesn't have a spark plug like a gas does.
There's no spark plugs in a diesel engine.
Well,
Absolutely.
there is one diesel, I believe it's a Cummins, not in like a truck, that has a spark plug. But yeah, most diesels, it just compresses it so much that it blows up. That's why they're louder,
Right.
by nature.
Okay.
So it's more of a violent.
Yeah.
So people that likes trucks, those big trucks, usually they like diesel trucks too.
Any of it. The main reason the diesels are more popular is they get better fuel mileage, especially as you lift them. They have more torque, so it's a lot easier to turn the bigger wheels and tires. And like mine, so that's on 37s, and I haul a 36-foot camper with no problems.
Okay.
Where like if that was a gas truck, it would still haul it, but you know it's back there. Like once you haul with a diesel, you never want to haul with a gasser again, which sucks because diesels cost a lot to maintain and to fix. Like every time they break, it's expensive, but if you haul a lot, it pays off in the end.
Do you happen to put any of, whether it's your own friend, whatever, like into these shows, like these competitions and races or any of that?
So like you mentioned the Monmouth Cruise.
Yeah.
So I'm actually a board member.
Okay.
For that club. And McKee Automotive is also a main sponsor for that. So every year we put, I want to say last year was 15 to 20 vehicles. Mine and then customer vehicles. Basically, we take off stuff we want to show off. One year, Brian Robbins' van that we did, all the lights and speakers and.
Oh yeah, I saw that van. I didn't know that you guys did that work. Gotcha.
Because I I like cool stuff, but the thing I really prefer to do is cool vehicles that are functional. So like we were talking about Jared Kunkel earlier, his service truck he's got now is a dually. It started out as a stock dually with a regular bed. We put a flatbed on it, boxes, air compressor, generator. Then we lifted it. Then we put a beefier front end in it. Now we just did wheels and tires, so it looks really cool, but it's super functional. And like we've added lights underneath of it so that when he's out working on the farm at night, he can turn lights on and see what he's doing. It's safer. A lot of people would like see lights and be like, whoa, lights, but they actually have a purpose and they're functional and it's actually safer. I'm a big fan of additional lighting, especially LED lighting, because you don't want to get hit or hurt when you roll an ankle or something like that.
Yeah. Well, especially on a farm, you know, any sort of being out in the farm and in country, you know, I mean, you mentioned the air compressor and, you know, having quite a bit of equipment on there.
Yeah, we basically gave him a toolbox on wheels. Right. And he's got quite a bit of storage. And it's been an evolution. And every time I come up with an idea, sometimes he's game for it and sometimes he's like the lift. He wasn't sure at first. He was like, it's a work truck. I don't want to lift it. I said, well, they sit pretty low. You go out to the field, you're going to be hitting stuff. Right. And it took about 2 weeks of him driving it after it was done for him to be like, all right, let's lift it.
Maybe just a little bit.
Yeah, it's not near as tall as mine.
Sure.
It's on 35s. It sits pretty comfortable getting out of, but for going in and out of fields and stuff like that, it's a lot more functional.
What's the process of lifting up a truck? Is it just changing the wheels, or do you need to do something else?
So we basically got the whole suspension out and redo it. And you can go. It's kind of a snowball of a process, because the farther you take anything from stock, the more you're going to have to do to make it be reliable. You can make it be reliable, it's just it gets exponentially more expensive. Right. So like his, we've got a lift, we've got upgraded shocks, we've got because the bigger wheels and tires, and it's a heavy truck in the first place. The GM front ends, it's got an independent front suspension as opposed to a straight axle like your Fords and your Dodges. So they're inherently weaker, but we use some trusted, upgraded, a lot beefier parts. And like my truck, I put 51,000 miles on that truck in 18 months after I bought it. I built it, and then we put 51,000 miles in a year and a half on it. It's been to Florida, Michigan, Missouri a bunch of times. You know, Iowa. It's been
here.
You
had mentioned a camper, right? So you have.
So yeah, we had a 42-foot camper, and we had it for about a year, and then a storm came and a tree cut it in half, like literally.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and it thank God.
Were you staying in it?
No, that's where the good Lord was looking out for us, because 2
crazy.
days before, me and my 2-year-old and our dogs were sleeping on the couch where the tree fell through, and there was no more couch. We never did find the TV that was in that room. Like, it bent the really big I-beam frame. It was devastating. So if we'd have been in there, it would have been a bad day.
What's the most you've had a client? Not you don't name drop by any means, but like that someone has put into a vehicle. I mean, like I said, some of these you'll see. It looks like they put 100,000 into something. But. It's
not uncommon. So let's say we'll use mine, because I can name drop myself and not have to worry about offending myself. I've put more into that truck than I paid for that truck.
Right. That's what I mean. I see sometimes.
So yeah, it's now the nice thing for me is I don't pay for labor. It's just time invested. But it gets pretty costly.
And the tires and rims, those are never really cheap or inexpensive, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the big bulky tires? I mean, on average like a 4? I know there's gonna be different brands and styles. I mean, on average, I'm gonna go out and get new tires on my car for call it $1,000, ish.
For all 4 tires, right?
Yeah.
So
now on the truck.
Yeah. So like a dually, for example, we just bought 6 Nitto Ridge grapplers for that service truck. I think they were a little over $3,000
each.
A little over $3,000 for the tires.
Okay,
all tires.
All 4 though.
Yeah.
Okay.
All 6.
Oh, 6. Okay.
Yeah, because it's got two on each side in the back.
Right.
I love those trucks.
Yeah. Nice. I used to not like service trucks, but the more I build them, the more I'm like, I like them.
Well, that's still not too bad. I mean, $3,000, I guess it's 6 tires, but.
And that's a Nitto Ridge Grappler, which is like the #1 rated tire. They're a great tire, so you can find a more cost-effective option if you don't mind it being a different brand or a little less mileage out of it.
So can you lift those trucks as well? Those that have 4 tires in the back? You just put bigger tires, change the suspension, and
Yeah, we change the suspension, lift it up, but then as you go like bigger tires, so a dually, you've got the tires real close to each other, so then you have to take into account the wheels have to be a certain offset so that the tires don't touch. And like a lot of people, you run into where the tires might not touch normal, but you put a load on it, and in the bottom they might touch. So you got to really kind of do your research, and some of it's still trial and error. Like Jared's truck, we knew what should work, but every truck sits a little different. So there's just some fine tuning on the suspension once we get done building to sit it. We want it to sit how we want it to sit, ride really nice, and not wear out parts. So.
What type of trucks from like those the known ones? Which one is the one that consumes the least amount of gas, the most economical ones, or the best ones?
There's a lot of answers there.
Yeah.
Fuel mileage wise, your half tons that have a diesel in them right now, like an Eco Diesel or the Baby Duramax, they get pretty good fuel mileage because they're a smaller truck, and the diesel gets better mileage anyway. So those are getting, I want to say, mid-20s, close to 30. Just depends on how you drive them. My truck actually, before it got as obnoxious and as tall as it is, it was getting 19-ish, which for a big truck wasn't bad. It doesn't get that now, but it's spiraled power-wise. So the more power you add, the worse you get economy-wise, but you know that going in. So
when it comes to breaking down, which one breaks the most, F-150 or?
Oh, I'm going to say Ford because I'm a GM guy, but honestly, they all break.
What usually breaks?
It just depends. Each manufacturer has the things they're good at and the things they aren't good at, and you think they'd figure out by now. It kind of, when you have a different truck come in, you kind of like Rams, something that breaks across the board. Seems like nobody can make exhaust hardware that's not going to break off after 5 years. So you've got a Ram, you got a Silverado, you got a F-150, and it's 5 to 10 years old. Chances are it's going to tick. You start up, and it's the exhaust leaking because one of the studs or nuts broke off, and it's allowing that manifold to come out, and then the exhaust is coming out there instead of going out the back. Thankfully, those are good paying jobs, and they're pretty common, so you get really good at them. But yeah, it's just time and materials, and they're not fast, but they're not terrible to do.
Okay.
So right now, do you have other mechanics, other people like under you that you're helping?
So I've gone back and forth. I would like to have more help. Right. Constantly looking for full-time help. Had a full-time guy and then didn't work out. I'm pretty driven, and you need to be pretty driven to be around me. But I have a kid that started not too long ago. His name's Devin. He's working part-time. He's going to school to be a welder, although I'm trying to convert him to be a tech. I think he'll be full-time this summer, so he's been a big help. And then just still looking for people. We're in a pretty small shop right now, 30 by 50. So even with one guy, it's crowded, so two gets more crowded. But we'll be moving into a new shop here. This is actually the first time I'm talking about publicly, other than with individual people. But here, hopefully in July or August, got a friend who's a customer that has a shop being built, and we're going to move into and rent part of it out. So we'll have more space and some office space, and be the next step in growth.
I would think you could get some. Right out of high school, not sure if they want to even go to college or what, not sure what they want to do, that are interested, kind of like what you said at a young age, kind of new, like I at least like to tinker and work and improve some of these things. I would think that would be a good untapped market.
I'm working with the local high school principal to work on, once we get a bigger shop, because we don't have enough room right now, but actually doing where for school credits they can come in the afternoon and learn. They used to do that back in the day.
I would say we had shop class.
I don't think they
it
do.
anymore.
I think they have like a shop, but they used to. So like when I was in high school, they would send you over to Galesburg, and there was like a vocational program where you would learn in the afternoons. And from what I've understood, that went away. And he's talked to me about trying to get some kids that want to do that in, and that way they can learn and kind of. I think it's a great idea to learn if you like it or not, because you might think you like it and not like it, or you might love it. And it's a good way to get some hands-on experience. For me, the only reservation on younger people is, like, I named the business McKee Automotive because I'm stamping my approval, and at some point I realize that means I have to hand off that stamp to other people so they can do the job. But it takes a lot for me to trust your ability, because like,
well, it's just like anything though, like, once you set that standard and you hold, you hold them accountable, and we're, this is what we do. I'm gonna look over everything that you do until we get to that point of trust. It's not because I think you're doing it wrong, but there's a McKee way that we do things.
And that's what I told Devin. Like, I've known him forever. His dad was actually the diesel tech where I was the diesel tech before I was the diesel tech. So he's got some knowledge. I think he does derby cars, so like he's worked on stuff before, and his dad's taught him. So he's got a good base. And I told him, I was like, look, like, don't take it personal, but I'm going to double check everything, because if it leaves and breaks, that's me.
Right.
Like, nobody's going to say you did it. It falls back on my shoulders. I said, don't take it personally. I said, and there's probably times I'm going to have you check my stuff, just because 2 sets of eyes is better than one. I'm big on trying to provide the best service possible and trying to be as good of an experience as possible. So, well, like, I use a software that will do a digital vehicle inspection, and we'll go through the whole vehicle, and if we find a problem, we take pictures, videos, and it comes to you in an app, well, a message from my app. So you can see, like, I tell you I need to spend $600 of your money, I show you why. That way you don't just wonder if I'm actually, like, if there's actually a problem or something. I like to try to build that trust. And I've never really had anybody not trust me, but I'd rather over-deliver. And, I mean, it helps if your plumber comes and says you need to spend $1,000. It's better if you can understand why than just be like, well, I got to spend $1,000.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So people work hard for their money. I like to make sure they know they're spending it wisely.
Well, and also, like, with your field, I mean, these are investments for them. I mean, most people aren't lifting the truck, making them faster out of necessity. It's just, I mean, that's an investment. They're wanting something a certain way. So, I mean, if you're gonna deliver that, they're gonna spend the money on it because they want it done, but they also want it done right. And to have any sort of further explanation on stuff always helps.
Well, and like I've always said, I'm definitely probably not going to be the cheapest, and I don't want to be.
Right.
And that might come across weird at first, but I want to use parts that I trust. I want to do a great job, and I want to know that when I'm done, it's not going to take a dump on you and crap out, and then all of a sudden you're having to fix it again. Every now and then, probability of the numbers, you're going to get a bad part or something, but usually we can catch that.
Is there any safety thing, like any anything that could happen to a truck after you lift the truck? Anything that it's going to become more dangerous to drive versus not lifted? As
you go up, your center of gravity goes up.
Yeah.
So we like to make them wider too. And then you can only go so far legally, wide-wise.
Okay.
But you have to slow down a little bit more for corners and stuff.
Okay.
My truck handles fairly like stock. I like to think it's better in a lot of ways. But yeah, if you go up or like you make a car or truck more powerful, the further you get from stock, the more you have to know the vehicle. You get like high horsepower trucks or cars, they start to get temperamental, and it's just a nature of the beast.
Okay.
But like lifted trucks, we do, so if your truck's got a lift, every time we do a service on it, we double check all your suspension, make sure we do that, a normal inspection on every vehicle, but we're a little bit nitpicky on lifted things, lowered things that are modified, just to make sure that nothing's going wrong that you don't know about, because like I'm assuming you're not crawling around on your truck like we are, so that allows us to point out something that might be able to be prevented from being a problem before it becomes a problem.
How often do people have their trucks have their engine just break, like failure, like fail?
Like completely fail? Not that. I mean,
It's not very often.
it's more of a time and mileage thing.
Yeah, how many miles usually a truck will be able to like for sure be able to be okay to drive and
Well, there's no for sure's in this game, but I will say maintenance plays a huge part.
yeah.
So like I've got a '05 Yukon Denali that's got a 6-liter gas engine in it. It's got 254,000 miles. It's the original engine. Zero problem.
Yeah.
But I've worked on vehicles that have less than 100,000 miles where the engine's blown up. But like oil doesn't really wear out that I know of or that I've ever seen. It gets dirty. So you do oil changes at regular intervals. If it idles a lot, make sure it's regular. Highway miles are easier on it than idling or in-town miles. So like personally, anymore, I buy high-mile vehicles from Texas because they don't have rust and they're cheap. Miles I don't worry about too much anymore because as long as it's been maintained or you fix a few things here and there, it's not bad. Up here you got to worry about salt and rust, and you spend a bunch of money and then the truck's gone.
What'd you say about idling? Because I do a lot of that.
So if it idles more, we recommend you really stick to the oil change intervals.
Oh yeah, I'm on.
Like
I'm
say you were to commute a long ways every day and you did a lot of highway miles. Like my wife's a great example. She's got a Chrysler Pacifica with a 3.6. Because of our kids and sports and everything, if we recommend 3 months, 3,000 miles. With synthetic oil, you can go longer, but that's for liability purposes what I recommend. I recommend you at least start thinking about changing it at 3. If I did hers at 3,000 miles, I'd be changing it every 4 to 5 weeks.
Right.
Because we put a lot of miles on the van. So I set her sticker for 3. By the time she realizes it's past due, it's at 4, and by the time I get to it, it's at 45 or 5. Which we run full synthetic on every oil change and a premium filter, so they're rated to like 10,000 miles. But for the safety of the vehicle, we recommend sooner than that. If you have a newer GM with a 4-cylinder, especially Ecotech, at like 3,000 miles, you barely have any oil anyway, so we definitely want to change it. Those things, they burn oil like it's their job.
What's it? The air filter you're supposed to switch like every other oil change or close to?
You don't have to do that much. We check them. If a cabin air filter that does the air inside the car is easily accessible, we check those on oil change as well. If
I don't think I ever changed an air filter. Is the air filter not the same as the filter for the oil filter?
No.
It's nothing to do with that.
So you've got an air filter under the hood that filters the air going in the engine.
Okay.
Then you've got, most vehicles have an air filter in the cab that filters the air you're breathing.
Okay.
Those ones are big for around here because it's a farm ground. You're finding mouse nests or crazy stuff. Yeah.
I had that happen once, and it was terrible because I would turn on the AC, and this like death smell would come out. I mean, I was like, what?
It's really hard to get out of a vehicle.
I couldn't figure it. Oh, they actually had to take the whole dash out. I mean, I took it to auto body shop. I think the insurance actually covered it. And yeah, they found out. 'Cause I'm like, you guys got to get to the bottom of this. I don't know what's going on, but it's something's dead. I mean, something's wrong.
Yep.
And they did. They got all the way in there, and there was like a dead mouse smashed up against like the side. I don't know how it got in there or what, but I mean, it was atrocious whenever you turned on the air.
Well, and critters have a way, like, somehow I wound up being the official, unofficial person that the Mama Police Department calls when there's like a cat stuck in a car. Like I took a whole front end off a car at Beck's once because there was a cat stuck between the radiator and it was like the lady's cat, and it crawled up in the car because it was warm, and then she went to work and it was like trapped and it was hot and it was an ordeal.
So the cat was still alive?
It's still alive. We pulled the whole front end off in the parking lot out at Beck's and saved it, and then took the car back to the shop and put it back together. And then like a year later, I got a call for a cat that was stuck up in a dash. I had to take the whole dash out of a car to get a cat. So it's been weird stuff like that.
That is weird.
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I thought the whole mouse thing was weird.
I've opened the hood of a vehicle before and had a possum. You go to change the oil, open the hood, a possum hisses at you, you just shut the hood.
Right. That scared the crap out of me.
Go get the welding gloves because I'm not getting bit. You put on some leather gloves and carried
grab
outside.
by the tail or something.
So when it comes to maintenance, someone that wants to learn how to do the best maintenance possible for a car.
Okay.
Oil change. What else? Every three months or 3,000 miles?
I recommend 3 months, 3,000. You can stretch it out with synthetic oil as long as the vehicle isn't known to burn oil. We recommend tire rotations every other oil change because tires are expensive and rotations are not. And the more you move them around, the more even they wear, the longer they last.
And rotation only makes sense if it's not a 4x4, like a 4-wheel drive?
No, we rotate everything.
Anyways, okay.
Unless it's staggered or offset sizing. So like some of your high performance cars have like different size tires in the front and the back. That you can only like rotate left to right, front and back. But so oil changes, tire rotations, we recommend an alignment check usually once a year, especially around here. I don't know if you noticed our roads are beat up after winter.
Not the ideal.
Yeah. I mean, I know they're doing the best they can, and it's like
sure.
You just got 9 million construction projects going on, and you can't keep the road smooth. But like it beats suspension up like bad.
So whenever you get your tires rotated, are you supposed to get them aligned after, or is that
no? That's not necessary. So usually we recommend checking the alignment once a year, and then if you buy new tires, we always try to sell an alignment with that because we want to make sure your suspension is aligned properly, so you don't wear your new tires out. We always check for loose suspension pieces, that kind of stuff, because if you've got something loose in the suspension or steering, that tire is going to move and it's going to feather or eat it up, and then you're not going to get your money's worth out of the tires. In the long run, it's going to be more expensive than just fixing the car.
Okay. What type of truck you get at your shop the more often, like the most? Is it a F-150, Ram, or a GMC?
So we get quite a bit of GM stuff, but it's because I was the head tech at the GM dealer, and when I left, like most of my family drives GM stuff because they know I'm really good at fixing it.
Okay.
A lot of my customers already had GM stuff. Like I try to drive GM stuff for the most part because like I'm just very
Master Tech.
Yeah, I'm a GM world class master tech.
Yeah.
There's like less than 2,000 of those in the world, so that just means that I prove to GM that I can do what I say I can do. You go through training through the GM dealer, and you get certified, and then if you want to become a master tech, you go up and they break a vehicle, and you have to tell them how to fix it in a certain amount of time, but you have to do it their way, which isn't always the way it gets done in the shop, because there's faster ways to diagnose stuff, but they want step by step by step to know that you can do it their way. And if you do that once, you're a master tech, and I've got everyone they offer. So
Okay.
Nice.
So people don't really take F-150s to you?
no, I work on those too. And like I've got a Dodge Ram in the shop right now that's a 01 that we're replacing the engine and some brake lines and stuff like that. My wife drives a Pacifica only because GM doesn't make a minivan anymore, and I avoided a minivan for years.
You mentioned 4 kids earlier, right?
So we have
That almost requires a minivan.
and 3 of them are under 3.
Hell yeah, you need a
Yeah,
minivan.
we got a 5-week-old, a little over a year, soon to be 3, and be 14 in July. So we got our hands full.
You say your oldest at 14?
Yep.
Nice. So that'll be a built-in babysitter. That's what I call that.
I don't know.
Here in a few years.
He's pretty active. So like he just got 6th place at state for wrestling.
Oh,
so,
nice.
And so now it's his off season. So he wrestled Saturday at state and got 6th. He took a couple days off, and tonight he'll have a practice for outside stuff, and then this weekend he'll be in a tournament again because he stays pretty
good.
He wants to be pretty good, so he's got to stay after it.
All wrestling? Is that the main sport only he does?
He's going to do track this year, I think, too, and then he does football, but predominantly it's all conditioning for wrestling. He goes and lifts at the Y with me every morning. And
I love the sport of wrestling. Watching just over the weekend was the Big Ten National Championship. I was watching some of that. I had some family members that wrestled. I never did. I mean, I would roll around and get pinned and beat up and stuff. But
I never wrestled. I was really not athletic in high school. I did football, but I was fat and lazy. So he's a lot more athletic than I am. But,
good for him. Yeah.
And he has a passion for it. And I couldn't imagine the energy and the atmosphere at like a college tournament, because this was junior high. So you're talking 7th, 8th, some 6th graders, and the energy's insane. So I'm excited to see high school. Like,
where was that tournament at? Just out of
up in
curiosity.
DeKalb at NIU.
Okay. Yeah.
It was, so you wrestled Friday, and if he won enough on Friday, he got to wrestle Saturday in semifinals. And so he won both his matches Friday, and then Saturday didn't go so well, but he got 6th, which is the medal placing spot. So he was hoping for 4th, I think, but we'll take it. It's his first year going to state, and he's only 8th grade, so I'm pretty proud of him.
Yeah, no, good for him. That's awesome. What about camping? You mentioned you had this camper.
So,
you guys did some traveling.
I'm a board member at Youngs Lake.
Okay.
I find a way to get myself into situations that require me to spend more time doing stuff somehow. But,
right.
So we camp out at Youngs Lake, and it's nice because it's right outside of Kirkwood, so it's like 10 minutes from the house. And we literally take the camper there, put it there at the beginning of the season, and leave it. We have got a designated spot, and it's kind of my escape because trying to grow a business from nothing requires a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so, like, the deal I make during camping season with the wife is I work my face off from Monday through Friday at 4, and there's going to be a lot of hours between there. But then once we quit on Friday, I shut my phone off, and we go hide and spend time with the family, and they get some undivided family time, which is important.
Absolutely.
It makes for a happier family and a happier wife, and at the end of the day, that's got to be worth it to do the business. So
yeah, I've said that for a long time. I think traditionally, I mean, that's where there's probably many area men as a whole have failed, but one area I think men have consistently failed for a long time is that focus and dedication to our work, and then let alone when you're a business owner, you got to take that responsibility to a whole other level. But
it's definitely like I've had a tech that worked for me that was like, oh, I want to run my own business because then I can work on what I want when I want and set my own hours. And I was like, that sounds good, but that's not how it works.
You're still at everyone's mercy,
and
if anything more.
First, you were working for only one person. Now you're working for a lot of
everybody, and
it's true.
Like, it's worth it, but it's a lot. Like, you got to be really good at dealing with stress. So I honestly work out every day. I have to mentally. Because I do that before I work, and that centers me and allows me to deal with all the stressors that come around a business. But like my phone, I'll have messages and phone calls as early as 5 o'clock and as late as 9:30. And now, naturally, I try not to answer those until business hours, just because 3 under 3, I'm getting a lot ready to go out the door in the morning.
Well, and you set a precedent. When you start taking those calls or responding, like it's something you just assumed that.
And I used to 24/7. I would respond because I'm like, I want to be a good business owner. I want to provide the best service possible. And then I realized that if you don't ever set boundaries, you're gonna run yourself in the dirt. And most people understand that. And like I always tell people, call me, leave a message. Send me a message. I'm not going to check it because I know for a fact right now I can tell you, as sure as I know I'm standing here, that if I check it and it's like Friday at 8:30 at night, I'm not going to remember to call you back on Monday. So I just leave it on unread.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you're going to get forgotten. And that's one thing that I'm really looking forward to with the new shop is I'll be able to hire an office person, because right now I don't have an office to put an office person in. And I need somebody to handle all forms of communication, because I get personal Facebook messages, business Facebook messages, emails, phone calls, traffic from our website. Like, I've got a ton of incoming, and you work in, and then you're talking to parts people, and then you're talking to customers, and then you're trying to answer the phone, and then you get 9 million telemarketers trying to sell you who knows what. I've blocked so many phone numbers in the last couple days, it's insane.
Yeah.
I get a lot of those everyday spam calls. You get those too?
Yeah, I like to talk to him for like a half hour. I'm just kidding. I got better stuff.
I put them on speakerphone if I'm working. Like, if I'm actually working on a vehicle, I'll put them on speakerphone and talk to them. And mess with them sometimes. And I try to be pretty nice because I know they're just doing a job. But some of them get pretty belligerent, and I love when you say hello,
hello, and then they kick on, and then it's like, man, you. I'll even tell them. I'm like, no, you got to get that first hello. You messed up. Try again.
I hate when they call you and you answer and then they put you on hold. I was like,
oh yeah, because
at least
that's
have a
all
decency to talk to me. Like,
yeah, no, I don't know anymore. If it's important, they'll leave a voicemail. If it's the right number, maybe they'll call back. You know,
and see, if it was a personal cell phone, I would only answer numbers that are saved. But since it's business, I have to answer everything that looks even relatively, common sense. And so,
it's gotten so bad though. The last like 2 years, it's just crazy.
I thought my number was like leaked somewhere, but no, a lot of people is getting those.
It's just everywhere. Yeah,
I've learned if I say, "Hi, this is Dustin with McKee Automotive" on a recorded line for customer satisfaction, they usually just hang up. It's not recorded line, but it weeds out the dummies.
Yeah, that's
they're like, no, not today.
Yeah, I usually anymore. I just won't answer if they leave a voicemail. I'll check in and get back. But yeah, it's gotten out of control, and you can't even use like it's a local area code.
No, because they started spamming. I've had them spam people I know's phone number.
Yeah.
Like it'll be somebody's in my contacts. I answer and it's not them.
Oh yeah, I've had people call me and say, "You just called me." I said, "No, I haven't. I haven't called you." It's like, "No, you just called me like 1 minute ago." I'm looking at my outgoing call. I haven't had a call in 3 hours.
Yeah.
But so there is something there where the phone number's getting, stolen or hacked or whatever. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So Dustin, last question here. Is there any reason why we have that competition with Ford and Chevy trucks?
Oh,
it's just two brands and people that owns one will be biased.
It's kind of like your politics or your sports teams or anything. We all like to give each other crap. So
there's no a reason for that, and then that started.
If you drive a GM, you're supposed to make fun of a Ford guy.
Okay.
Right. Nike.
If you drive a Ford, it's the same thing. And
okay.
I own multiple brands, but I fix them all, so I make fun of them all. But at the end of the day, they all break, thankfully, because I wouldn't have a job if they didn't.
That's true.
But some break in certain areas and others break in others, and you kind of learn what to look for. So at the end of the day, they all make decent stuff, and they all make not so decent stuff, and you just kind of hope you buy something that's decent.
Do you have like your own dream car, or like what would be, or just truck? An ideal? Yeah,
I don't even know. I appreciate like a wide. It's kind of like my music. I listen to everything but classical. Vehicles are the same. Like I can appreciate a lowered truck, a lifted truck, a fast car, a slow lowered car, an old hot rod, a new Lambo or C8 Corvette. Like it's as long as you can mess with it, I pretty much like it. Like I'm gonna modify my wife's minivan because I can't leave stuff alone. Like I screwed with a lawnmower. It's a push mower. So I just can't not modify stuff.
Right.
It's been that way since I've been little. Like if I can tinker with it and make it more fun to use, and that ties back into the like customers' work trucks. My big thing is like if you got a company truck that you're gonna be driving every day in and out, you got to go job sites, whatever. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to make that truck a little easier for you to use and a little bit more enjoyable to be in. Because at the end of the day, if that's better and you're in that truck all day, every day, or back and forth every day, it's just going to make the quality of life better. So,
if you could make my lawnmower more fun, that'd be cool.
Put some car wheels there.
Do something to make it more entertaining to mow my yard.
I'll lift a stroller, so that should tell you, like, we'll modify anything. If it has wheels or I can put wheels on it, we can make it cool.
What about his son here in a couple of years will probably get one of those power wheels?
I built my kid one. I painted it, customized it. I took the 12-volt battery out, put an 18-volt Milwaukee in. Now it goes faster and lasts longer.
Dang.
Dude. And the remote control now, so you can drive the kid around.
Yeah, so my neighbor...
hit me up.
One of my neighbors has one of those. He just walks down the street with a big controller, and the kid is in the car just moving, going...
Naturally, mine's a GMC.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think Juju would like that.
So that's a business I could see blowing up. Like if you just pimped out these.
There's companies that like
so awesome
that do high dollar. I'm talking like fully custom. They 3D print wheels and stuff.
Right.
Like you can get real insane with it. But like I don't have much money, and the one I did, I got the money that it costs, and then you can buy like a kit to convert it to 18 volts on Amazon. And
that's crazy.
I run all Milwaukee tools, so I just take a battery off a Sawzall and stick it in the truck and suddenly it's faster and it doesn't. And if it dies, you grab another battery instead of having to charge it forever.
Huh.
So, like I said, I'll mess with anything. We'll make this table cool if you give me enough time. Like,
I love it. Well, thanks for coming in today,
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me.
I appreciate you sharing your knowledge, and wish you the best of luck. Especially you mentioned, getting that new location going.
yeah, we're
July
excited.
2024 ish.
So that's the goal. Originally, they said they were going to start construction in March, and they started construction in February, and they said they were going to be in July. And I realistically thought that probably meant August because I'm a pessimist and I've done a lot of construction stuff, and it always.
But if this
goes
weather
longer.
stays right,
And
you
I
might
need to
get
go
it
out
in.
there. It'd be on the Cameron Blacktop, just past the United School Road. But from what I was told, they started on the building. I know that all the dirt work and gravel work was done a couple weeks ago, and they were setting in the corners for the posts and stuff last week's, and they're supposed to be putting the building up this week. So hopefully.
Yeah.
I told Jared, I said my birthday is June 8th and I wear a size new shop. So
Yeah.
if they want to hurry that process up, I'll be thrilled.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Well, definitely wish you the best of luck at that,
Thank
and maybe keep an eye out for you at the Monmouth Car Show as well.
Yeah, come see us. It's our, I want to say it's 25th year. It might be more than that.
It's getting close to
Terrible
that.
for not remembering.
That's
It's on our
okay.
flyer that I just posted on Facebook the other day. So follow McKee
Yeah.
Automotive on Facebook. You'll see that. But yeah, it should be the biggest year yet. We got a few hurdles to jump with the city having the square tour part and stuff, but we'll adapt. And
It'll work.
I mean, it's like we've got a sponsor, the corporate sponsor. Last year, they were like, "Yeah, we'll do it," and then afterwards, the salesperson came to me and they were like, "We didn't believe you when you said how many cars and how many people were here. We want to do whatever we can do next year." And I said,
Yeah.
"I'm telling you, like,
It's huge.
you would never think a show that big would be in Monmouth, Illinois,
Right.
but it's
It's huge.
an insane amount of people and an insane amount of cars, and it just gets bigger."
My first 6-7 years coming, I actually came because Alwyn wraps. They do pork chops, ribeyes, and hot dogs. And I would Pat Alwyn, I'd help him. I just would stand there and wrap ribeyes and pork
Well,
chops.
it's
all
really
night.
hard to beat a good ribeye too.
Yeah, they were amazing. And but I'm sitting there watching all these people, and then it starts getting busy and it's crazy. And and it goes till it was 9 at night. The sun's down, it's dark, and there's still thousands of people walking
Yeah,
around.
it's a big undertaking. Like, it takes a lot behind the scenes to make that work.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
But I remember being, I couldn't have been super little because 25 years and I'll be 38 this year. But I remember when I was younger going up there, and I'm sure that had something to do with how much I like that stuff. And my big thing is I really love my truck, especially my wife will get annoyed, but you go to Walmart, we can't go anywhere without people thumbs up, or especially kids. They love it.
Yeah.
They want to see it. Every now and then you get an older person who thinks it's cool too, which is sometimes you get people that don't think it's cool, think it's obnoxious. But
You're always going to have haters.
but it's really exciting to encourage the next generation, because if we don't pass that on to kids, then it's just going to go away. So
Yeah.
anything I can do we do the Touch a Truck out at the Primey Festival.
Great.
You got to be careful because as somebody with a lot of little kids, my own, they'll break levers off.
Right.
But they love anything they can honk or make noise or
Yeah.
climb up in the truck, so we'd let them, run crazy and just kind of keep an eye on them, make sure they don't break a $400 multifunction switch
Right.
off or anything.
I
But
know
it's
Galesburg
fun.
has a Touch a Truck as well. if
I'll
you're
have to
ever
look
looking
into
for
that.
another one. But yeah, I love that whole Touch a Truck program. It's just like you said, to keep the
Yep.
kids intrigued. I mean, who doesn't want to see a big fire truck, an ambulance, a Caterpillar?
I still want to play with a fire truck.
Right.
I got up in it.
Yeah.
And like Uncle brought a semi, I still want to honk the horn, and I'm 38. So
Yeah.
I'm the same. They say the difference between a man and a boy is the cost of toys. So I'm just a little kid that grew up and still wants to play with stuff. And if you give me the opportunity, I'm gonna play with whatever I can get my hands on.
Right.
So
No, that's cool.
For sure.
Well, wish you the best of luck, man.
Thanks.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah. Dustin McKee with McKee Automotive. You're tuned into the Talk About It podcast. I'm Lauren Fulmer.
I'm Victor Dantas.
Hit subscribe. See you later. Thank you for watching this episode of the Talk About It podcast.
I'm Victor Dantas.
I'm Lauren Fulmer.
And we would encourage you guys to subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to hit the bell. It's going to be right below the video. So you
Hit
guys,
the bell.
so you know when the next episode is up. All
We
right?
appreciate all the support.
Thank you.